You know that feeling, that little jolt, that frustration when someone, say, cuts you off in traffic?
Oh, yeah. Or a coworker makes some comment that just, like, gets into your skin.
Totally. Or even, your partner does something baffling, like opening a window when it's freezing out. We've all been there, right? Letting these tiny things just grate on us.
Absolutely. It's kind of amazing how fast those little irritations can just blow up, hijack your whole mood for the day,
Yeah.
steal your peace.
They really can. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Why do these everyday annoyances pack such a big punch? And more importantly, what can we do about them, practically speaking?
Right. And for this deep dive, we're pulling insights from content shared by Brian, who's the CEO and founder of Automatic Leader. He talks a lot about managing these, well, emotional triggers.
Okay, so our mission here is to unpack what Brian's material suggests and hopefully find some really practical ways for you to handle those daily annoyances without letting them ruin your day. What could mastering that kind of internal emotional management mean for you when you face bigger things?
Yeah, like bigger challenges, more significant conflicts, or even how you sort of lead in your own life, whether that's at home, with family, or maybe even at work. What could change if you gain that control over your reactions?
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this. The content we looked at really highlights these sorts of common scenarios, like you mentioned. The colleague who maybe boasts a bit too much or makes those little snide comments.
Ugh, yeah. Or being stuck behind someone driving so slowly when you're already running late. That's a classic.
It is. And yeah, the example of someone you live with just throwing open a window when you're trying to stay warm, these things are described as annoying, frustrating, maddening.
Maddening, yeah. That's a strong word, but it fits sometimes. And the immediate result,
Yeah.
you feel that surge of anger.
Right, anger. And this is where the insights from the material get really interesting, talking about the actual impact. It's not just feeling bad.
No, exactly. There are real consequences. Physiologically, the sources point out your cortisol levels can spike. That's your main stress hormone.
Cortisol. Okay.
And, having chronically high cortisol, well, the suggestion is that it can potentially have negative effects on your health long term, even possibly reducing lifespan.
Whoa. Hang on. So getting really wound up by a slow driver could literally be bad for my long-term health. That puts a new perspective on road rage.
It really does highlight the physical cost, doesn't it? The toll that constant, unchecked frustration might take. And beyond the physical side, there's also what the material calls the action effect.
Action effect.
Yeah, there's this phrase used, emotion leads to motion.
Emotion leads to motion. Huh. Simple. I like it.
It's pretty potent because if that emotion is negative, like the anger or frustration we're talking about, then the motion, our action or response, tends to be negative too.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the source material points out this cycle. Those negative actions usually just make things worse. You snap at someone, say something regrettable, escalate things when you didn't need to.
Right, right. So, okay, if these small things can have such a big impact and reacting negatively makes it worse, why do we get so triggered in the first place? What's the root cause identified in this material?
Well, the fundamental reason, as explored in the content, really boils down to one of two things: resistance or attachment.
Resistance or attachment?
Yeah. You're either resisting something unwelcome that's happening right now, like the slow driver, the cold air from the window,
Okay.
or you're attached to something you feel is being taken away, like your plan to get somewhere fast,
Yeah.
or the feeling of being warm and comfortable. It's this internal battle against what is.
Yeah.
We're trying to control things.
Trying to control the uncontrollable. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a recipe for frustration. But the good news, apparently, is that there is an easier way. We don't have to feel this way.
That's the core idea presented. We have a choice. We can choose to just let go.
Let go. Easier said than done sometimes, though.
Exactly. And the material acknowledges that. Brian from Automatic Leader apparently mentions that he intellectually knew the whole don't sweat the small stuff idea for ages, but the real sticking point was how. How do you actually do that letting go when you're feeling annoyed?
The practical application. That's always the key. So did this deep dive into the content uncover some actual techniques? How do we do it?
Yes. It highlighted two specific techniques that are described as working, quote, like a charm.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the first one?
So the first one is drawn from the work of Eckhart Tolle for his book, A New Earth. And the advice is, well, it's incredibly simple. Almost too simple, maybe.
Don't keep me in suspense. What is it?
It's just saying three words to yourself. I don't mind.
I don't mind. That's it.
That's it. The content calls them three magical words. The claim is they can shift your emotional state surprisingly quickly when you're facing something annoying.
Huh. I don't mind. It does sound almost ridiculously simple. How does that work in practice, like with the examples?
Well, the examples given are just that. You're stuck behind that slow driver, feeling the frustration rise. You mentally, or maybe even whisper it, just say, I don't mind. Someone opens that window, I don't mind. It's presented like a little mantra you use right in the moment to stop fighting it.
So it's like actively accepting the situation instead of resisting it?
Exactly. That seems to be the power of it. It's an intentional statement of acceptance. It interrupts that automatic resistance, that sort of fight or flight feeling that annoyance triggers. You break the pattern.
Okay, interesting. I don't mind. I can see how that might, take the edge off. So that's one tool. What was the second technique mentioned? Especially if the annoyance is coming from someone else's actions.
Right. The second one is attributed to the author and podcaster Mel Robbins. Her approach uses a two-part phrase. First, you say, let them, and then you follow it up with, let me.
Let them, then let me. Okay, how does that work? Give me an example.
So you use the let them part for whatever the other person is doing that's bothering you. Examples from the source, let them open the window, let them drive slowly, let them brag during the meeting.
So you just acknowledge it, like, let them drive slowly. You just say that to yourself.
Yep. Just acknowledge their action with let them. According to the material, just doing that immediately makes you feel a bit better. It kind of releases that tension, that feeling that you need to control or fight what they are doing, except you can't control them.
Okay. I can sort of feel how that might release some pressure. And then what's the let me part for?
That's the pivot. After you've used let them to stop resisting their action,
Yeah.
you use let me to focus on your constructive response, what you can control.
Ah.
So the examples were, let them open the window, let me go into the other room, or let me put on a sweater, or let them brag in the meeting, let me focus on my own notes, or maybe let me plan to leave a bit early to grab groceries, if that makes sense in the context.
Oh, I see. So it's like, okay, they're doing their thing. I can't stop that, but I can choose my next move. Let them do X, let me do Y. That feels actually quite empowering. It shifts the focus back to you.
It really does. And the source material strongly endorses this one. It's described as saving so much stress. Apparently, Brian from Automatic Leader finds this one his personal favorite technique.
Saving stress. Yeah, that connects right back to what you said earlier about cortisol and the physical impact. These aren't just like little mind games, are they? The insights suggest they have real benefits for our well-being.
Absolutely. And if you look at the bigger picture presented in the material, the benefits of actually using these techniques seem pretty significant. The idea is you don't have to live with that constant background noise of frustration and anger simmering away.
And you stop that emotion leads to motion cycle in its tracks. You avoid making things worse by reacting badly, saying stuff you regret later.
Exactly. And a really key point emphasized in the content is that these techniques aren't just theory. They're described as working immediately, but only when you remember to actually use them in the moment.
Right. That's the catch, isn't it? Remembering to do it when you're actually annoyed.
It is. So the strong suggestion from the material is, don't just think about these ideas, practice them. The very next time you feel that little sting of annoyance, try one. Just say the words, I don't mind, or let them, let me.
Don't overthink it. Just try it. Build the habit.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing a different path in that moment, building a new response that serves you better than just automatically getting angry or frustrated.
So to recap quickly, we've got two really practical techniques here from these insights. I don't mind, kind of a general mantra for acceptance.
Right. And let me. Specifically useful when dealing with other people's actions that annoy you. Separating their actions from your response.
The core message feels really empowering, actually. It's saying you don't have to be at the mercy of these small, everyday irritations. They don't have to control your mood or your actions or harm your well-being.
Handling them differently is presented as a skill you can learn, and these techniques are like the first steps on that path.